Hi friends, it's Mr. Whalen here. I have brought you another story. It's a winter story. It takes place in winter. It's not really a holiday story. It's called Poppleton in Winter. Poppleton in Winter. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Poppleton. Maybe you've met. Poppleton is a pig in these books. The author is Cynthia Rylant. Now, Cynthia Rylant has written lots of books. You've probably seen her name on lots of things you might have read. Maybe you didn't notice it. But she wrote some early chapter books like Poppleton. One was Mr. Putter and Tabby. I don't know if anyone's read any of him. Henry and Mudge, another real popular one. I'll be reading some Henry and Mudge later. But those are early chapter books, and that's how our boys got introduced to chapter books. They learned to like reading them. So it's really cool. Now, Poppleton, he moves into a town, and I don't know where, but he meets some neighbors and makes some friends, and little things happen to Poppleton in each book, in each chapter, and we get to learn about him. Sometimes he learns a lesson, sometimes it's just a fun story, but Poppleton, very cool, loved Poppleton. One other thing about Poppleton, the illustrations are by Mark Teague. Cynthia Rylant did not do these illustrations. She did for some of her books, not this one. Mark Teague did these. You'll recognize his work. You'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen that stuff. He does a lot of pigs. I know he's done a lot of pigs before. Pigs in other books I've seen. Oh yeah, Mark Teague, because it looks like Poppleton. But yeah, you'd recognize his work. So look for his artwork in other books, and look for Cynthia Rylant, because she's a really good author. So Poppleton in Winter. Hope you enjoy it. Poppleton in Winter by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Mark Teague. Poppleton in Winter. Contents: Icicles, page 5. The Bust, page 18. The Sleigh Ride, page 36. Chapter 1. Icicles. Poppleton's house grew very long icicles in winter. Poppleton was proud of them. He never knocked them down. He just let them get longer and longer. Gus, the mail carrier, said, "Poppleton, you should do something about those icicles." Hudson down the street said,
"Poppleton, those icicles are not pretty."
And when Poppleton's mother visited, she said that an icicle was surely going to bonk him on the head. But Poppleton didn't listen to any of them. He loved his icicles. Each morning he took a ruler outside to see how much longer they had grown. Then one day, a little finch wasn't watching where he was going. He ran into one icicle, and that one fell into the next one, which fell into the next one, which fell into the next one. And soon, all of Poppleton's icicles were lying on the ground. Poppleton was sad. The little finch felt so bad.
"I'm very sorry,"
he said. "It's all right," Poppleton said politely.
"Maybe we could build something with them,"
said the finch. "Build something?" asked Poppleton.
"Sure,"
said the finch.
"The icicles are still frozen. We could make them into something."
Poppleton and the finch worked all day long. And by evening, Poppleton had the most beautiful picket fence in town. "Would you like to stay for dinner?" Poppleton asked the finch, whose name was Patrick.
"Certainly,"
said Patrick. Poppleton was glad his icicles were knocked down. Icicles always melted, but a new friend would stay. Chapter 2. The Bust. Winter always made Poppleton creative. One winter, he built a pagoda out of ice cream sticks. Another winter, he hooked a rug. Another winter, he painted stars on all his floors. Now it was time to be creative again. What shall I make this winter? Poppleton thought. He looked out his window and saw Cherry Sue in her house. I know, said Poppleton. I'll make a bust of Cherry Sue. Poppleton went to the art store and bought some clay. Then he started molding Cherry Sue's head. I can't remember what Cherry Sue's hair looks like, said Poppleton. He walked over to Cherry Sue's and knocked on the door. Hello, Poppleton, said Cherry Sue. Hello, said Poppleton. Come in, said Cherry Sue. No, thanks. I just wanted to say hello, said Poppleton, looking closely at her head. He went back home and started molding. Said Poppleton. I can't remember what Cherry Sue's eyes look like. He walked over to Cherry Sue's and knocked on the door. Yes, said Cherry Sue. Poppleton looked deeply into Cherry Sue's eyes. Nice to see you. Goodbye, said Poppleton. He went back home and started molding. Said Poppleton. I can't remember what Cherry Sue's nose looks like. He walked over to Cherry Sue's and knocked on the door. You again, said Cherry Sue. Poppleton stared at her nose. She tweaked his. Oh, said Poppleton, you tweaked my nose. Because you're making me crazy, said Cherry Sue. I'm only trying to make a bust of your head, said Poppleton. Really? Cherry Sue said. I can't remember what you look like, Poppleton said, rubbing his nose. I'll get my coat, said Cherry Sue. She followed Poppleton back to his house. She sat very still while he molded. It took 5 hours. But when the bust was done, it looked just like Cherry Sue. Sorry I tweaked your nose, she told Poppleton. And she gave it a little kiss. Chapter 3. The Sleigh Ride. It was a very snowy day, and Poppleton felt like a sleigh ride. He called his friend Cherry Sue. Would you like to go for a sleigh ride? Poppleton asked. Sorry, Poppleton. I'm making cookies, said Cherry Sue. Poppleton called his friend Hudson. Would you like to go for a sleigh ride? Poppleton asked. Sorry, said Hudson. I'm baking a cake. Poppleton called his friend Fillmore. Would you like to go for a sleigh ride? Poppleton asked. Sorry, said Fillmore. I'm stirring some fudge. Poppleton was so disappointed. He couldn't find one friend for a sleigh ride. And besides that, they were all making such good things to eat. He sat in front of his window, feeling very sorry for himself. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Surprise! There stood all of Poppleton's friends, with cookies and cake and fudge and presents. Happy birthday, Poppleton! He had forgotten his own birthday. Everyone ate and laughed and played games with Poppleton. Then, just before midnight, they all took him on a sleigh ride. The moon was full and white. The stars twinkled. The owls hooted in the trees. Over the snow went the sleigh, filled with Poppleton and all of his friends. Poppleton didn't even make a birthday wish. He had everything all ready.